All right. Hello, everyone. Apologies for the delay. Uh, Tech is always giving issues, so apologies for that. Now, I think it's been a really great year. If that's been the same case for you, just let me know in the chat. But I think one of the key things I'm really hoping that this session would help us achieve would be figuring out exactly how to navigate everything relating to um, building connections, building uh, community, and eventually, how does this translate into real sales for you and your business? Now, I'll just give you a little bit background about myself. I was trying to test, something just got messy when it came to my presentation, so I would speak more, but I just really hope that you guys follow me along and I would get the presentation on just in a bit. But one of the key things is that I've spent, I think, the last couple of months trying to understand why most creators tend to not have a lot of things figured out for themselves. And this has gotten me to a place where I just really wanted to understand what exactly are the issues, what seems to be the problem for most people. Why can't they figure out things for themselves? And I think right now I'm in a place where I'm starting to see that it's not necessarily about not knowing what to do, but it's more about you not being able to generate the kind of results you hope to achieve. And if we're going by what everybody says today, you would agree with me that we're gradually getting to a point where, uh, what you probably studied in uni, the job you have right now might not really be giving you the satisfaction that you need. So you need something else to, pair with this. And I was in the same situation a couple of months ago. Not months, a few years ago. I had just relocated from Nigeria to the UK, and I was trying to figure out how do I balance this new system that I'm in. I've built some experience in content creation, photography, videography, architecture, but it seemed like all of those things are not really working here. So, what was the next option for me? It was just to really understand the space and figure out how do I start to, sort of change the narrative for myself. And as I was doing this, along the process, I started thinking around digital products. I started thinking around um, coaching and a few other things. And I've explored so many different things, if I'm being honest. I've explored a lot of things. But then I got to a point where I realized that if there's anything that I would do right, it would be figuring out what is it that I'm good at, and then how can I turn that into something that starts to generate income for me. And while I was figuring out everything for myself, I came across a video from a particular creator called Ali Abdul, and he talked about how he was able to balance his full-time career as a doctor and then doing YouTube on the side and so many other things. And I started to see that I could actually create something that works. And in the thought of creating something that works, I landed on figuring out how do I help creators and founders turn their skills into consistent or predictable income. And I've spent the last 3 years teaching this and really getting all the details right. Because I first did it for myself. I spent a year, understood the details, and I was like, if I can apply this for a lot more people, maybe that would make sense. And I've done it for free ever since. So December last year, wow, it's nice saying last year. December last year, I decided to do exactly the same thing and teach a framework I call DMAT, which was a simple step-by-step system to help creators and founders turn income into skills into consistent and predictable income. And during the 31-day series, if you've been following or if you followed, we covered 3 steps. And the first step was how to identify your most valuable skill. And that's like something that people will pay you for. And then we went into how to package that skill into an offer and price it properly so that you're not like undercharging. And we then did something else, which was to find or figure out how to find your first 5 clients using warm outreach, discovery calls, and follow-ups that actually work. And while I did that, it was quite interesting that some of the people that watched, started implementing them in real time. And there were people who sent me DMs to tell me that they've closed, their first $600 client. There was another person who talked about how she was able to get someone on retainer to pretty much help them manage their social media. And one person even put up a comment that if not for reading what was sent on day 18, that he would have lost a 400, he would have charged the 400,000 naira for a project that would actually cost 1.2 million naira. So, and it's quite incredible. And if that is you, if you're listening to this, I'm genuinely proud of you. But here's the thing, step 1, 2, and 3 are just like the foundation. They get you started, and then, you can get your first bit of money from there. But then what happens after that, which is what I'm really hoping that I use this video to do in detail. Now, with those 5 clients that you have, you might probably be wondering, okay, so what next? And if you've not gotten any clients at all, don't worry. If you go through the series, you'll understand. But I'm going to still give you some foundations while we're going on. We're going to be here for like close to 3 hours, so don't be in a hurry to leave. And we'll be having Q&A sessions, so if you want to be a part of the Q&A, please come and join us on Google Meet, so you have access to everything that we're talking about. Now, think about it. How do you scale something that you've already started? How do you stop trading time for money? How do you build something that doesn't burn you out? That's what we're covering tonight. And tonight, I'm going to walk you through step 4, 5, and 6 of that DMAT framework. And then the steps that take you from, let's say, 500,000 naira or maybe $2,000, depending on what country you're in, per month, to say 1 million, 2 million, 10K, 20K, and beyond without working more hours. I hope you don't think this sounds like get rich quick kind of a thing. It's not. This is a 12-month long journey, so you need to really start to figure that part out. It's a 12-month long journey. It's not something that just gets easy in like a month or 2. I'm not promising you that. But if you commit to it for the next 12 months, you would see results. So bear that in mind. And but before we get to how you get to do all of this, I need to talk to you about the why, because I've been watching what's happening in the creator economy, and I need to mention something that is very important. And I feel like it's something that most people are not really talking about. And it's the fact that the influencer era is dying. I hope those on Zoom are hearing me. Let me activate the chat here, so I'm sure you guys are following me. Can you guys hear me? Are you following? So I know what to gather. All right, perfect. And if you're on YouTube, is it audible enough? Hope nothing is missing. All right. I think YouTube might come in a bit later. Anyway, so as I was saying, the influencer era is dying. And if you don't adapt, you most likely are going to be left behind. In the same space, just creating content without figuring out how to monetize it is also a problem. And I really don't want this to be the case for any one of you. So I'm just putting that out there so it creates a level ground to, think about before anything starts to get messy. And I'm also hoping that those who are here with me today, you will figure out most of the, ins and outs of all of the processes that I get to share with you. Now, if you're taking notes, this would be a good time to write down a couple of things, but I'm going to explain something that most people might not really tell you. Any creator out there might not really say in so much detail, right? And the first thing is that I hope it's okay that I'm just talking and I'm not using slides. I feel like I communicate better this way. So if you prefer to see visual stuff, forgive me, this might not be the case today. So I hope we're aligned on that. Yeah. But then I just wanted to explain a few things. What I mean by saying that the influencer era is dying is this: that for the last 10 years, the creator economy has been built on one model, which is influence. Get a big audience, post content, get brand deals, sell affiliate products, push discount codes. And while that worked for a while, something shifted. Brands are now using AI to promote their products. They don't need influencers anymore like that. I mean, they can generate content themselves. So influencers are not really in vogue like it used to be. I remember back then, in Nigeria, when there was Big Brother Nigeria, the moment someone steps out of Big Brother Nigeria, they're just getting loaded with brand deals. But right now, that is slowly reducing because now people are sort of trying to focus more on other things. And if we're being honest, people are sick and tired of seeing people talking about discount codes everywhere. If you want to join this, get 10% off, get 20% off, and all of that. And at the same time, every creator, has a code. Every post is sponsored, and it's quite exhausting. I mean, I was there too. I think all of 2024, I mostly did a lot of brand deals because it was one of the fastest ways to make money, because I had a relatively, good audience. But then I started to see that my audience was getting tired of it, and I started to switch things up, and I wanted to be a lot more authentic. So I stopped talking about brands, and I started teaching frameworks. I started teaching, things to help people get started as well. But then the truth also is that your audience, the people's audiences are getting tired of seeing perfectly curated things. They're tired of seeing those perfect lives behind businesses, or those perfect kind of aesthetics. People, like, there's a time people care so much about the feed and how the feed looks. And the reality of it is that it's not really connecting with the person behind it at all. I remember a time where I was just wearing gray t-shirt and black jeans, thinking I was building a brand, until I started adding a little bit of humanity and myself to it. But then the problem isn't that people don't want to buy from creators anymore. It's just that it got to a time that, okay, so I think there's a comment here that the audio is a bit low. So let me see if I can pump that up. All right, is audio better now for YouTube? YouTube, is audio better now? The video will be active on my YouTube, so you can always go back and see it. So that's all good. I'm trying to figure out why this audio is not that loud. Sorry. It's part of the reasons why I really do enjoy doing live sessions, because stuff might not just work the way they're supposed to. Or maybe I should bring this a bit up. All right, let's get back to it. All right, so I think YouTube is good now. All right, so I was talking about how that the problem isn't that people don't want to buy from creators anymore, because that's not necessarily the problem. The problem is that they can't resonate with you as a person, because most of the times most creators that are big and out there, they never show up as themselves. The only things that show up are products, offers, logos, and all those kind of things. But the actual person, the human being behind the whole thing, with the story, with the struggles, with the reason for doing what they are doing, they don't show up. And that's why people probably aren't buying whatever it is that you're selling. Now, I'm speaking just to those who are already doing, so that you don't think, and I'm not ignoring those that haven't started yet. I'm going to come to you guys. So, and in this day and age of modern technology, I feel like people aren't looking for the next, superstar, next Wizkid, or all of these popular people, Beyonce and the rest, right? They're looking for connection. They're looking for a place to belong. They're looking for someone they can trust, someone who gets them, someone who has been where they currently are, and they feel like the person can get them where they want to go. And this is the reason why most of you are on this session right now. I probably said something before that felt really connecting to you, and you're like, wow, how was this guy able to do it? I'm trying to do something like this too. Maybe if I listen to him more, it's going to, maybe that would help me. And then you then realize I'm doing a 3-hour session and you're like, okay, perfect. Let me hear more from this guy, not just 30 seconds, 50 seconds, 1 minute reel. That's what's working now. And it's like creating a connection, a place for people to belong. And that's one of the main reasons why I even started something that I called Amplify and Scale. The reason for that is I have a lot of people who reach out telling me that they have this experience, this skill, this knowledge, but they don't know how to monetize it. And I'm like, okay, no problem. Let's figure out a way to do this. I've done it for myself and I can show you potentially how you can do the same thing. So this is where the world is moving to right now. And I constantly see this in the creator space. Creators have products, they have offers, they have things to sell. At some point, you're going to have the same thing too. But they as a person never show up on screen. People don't understand why they started. They don't know the person behind the products. And if this keeps happening, they will scroll past, they won't buy, and they won't engage. Not because your offer is bad, that's if you currently have an offer. And if you're thinking of building one, it's not because your offer is bad. It's not because you don't have anything solid to offer. It's just that people don't understand the person behind those things, which is why I'm laying this groundwork or this foundation so that it doesn't feel oblivious to you or you don't feel bad when, you've packaged your skill like I taught you to do with DMAT, and then you're putting this thing out there and nobody's, buying your stuff. No, that's not the case. It is because there is no connection and there is no trust. So let me be very clear about what we're doing tonight. Yes, I'm going to teach you the step 4, 5, and 6 of that math framework. Yes, you're going to learn how to deliver, how to scale, and how to build systems. But the bigger thing we are addressing tonight is that I'm going to show you how you can build real connection with your audience. How do you show up as yourself, not just as your business? How do you create trust at scale so that people don't just follow you, they buy from you and they keep buying from you? 2020, 2025, one of the biggest places where I made the most money was not from my digital products, but I saw a very huge jump from when I started actively sharing my journey, my experiences, and my story. And then the product, without talking about the product at all, people would email me, they would send DMs. I think sometimes I'll even write Substacks and someone will just ask, you talked about this, how did you leave this phase? And I was like, oh, I did all of this, but then I have this very small product that you can buy and will give you access to more of these things without me having to tell you to come and pay for consultation for like say $500. But that's what I'm talking about here. So that's what I'm really going to show you, how to create trust at scale, that people don't just follow you, they choose to buy from you. They want to find more of the things you do, because that is what it's really about. It's not just about the cash flow, which is important, don't get me wrong, but it's not just about the cash flow. It's about building something sustainable, something real, something that doesn't rely on algorithms or trends or brand deals. So it's basically me letting you know that you will learn how to build your business around you, around your story, your expertise, and your values. And that's what we're fixing tonight. All right. So I hope this is enough wake-up call before we jump straight into the next couple of things. But I just want to do a quick poll here. How many of you are convenient with me just talking without sharing anything on screen? Do you think that would be cool? Because I feel like that might be a bit distracting, but let me know in the chats on Zoom or on YouTube, and then I'll continue. Because if that's the case, I can easily just hold the mic and speak better, so it's a lot more audible. All right, fine with it. Okay then. Okay. I think this should be a whole lot better. And I hope I'm not clipping when I'm talking. Yeah, I can provide. So you will get, I'm going to email all of you the PDF that I've created for this session. So it'll be easy to just consume that. Yeah, while I just talk. All right, perfect. So now let me just tell you one of the reasons why I feel like people have stopped buying the way they used to. People still buy designer stuff. They still buy all sort of, insignificant things. But people stop buying from people that they know or people that they see every day because there is a trust gap. I have my notes here, so I'll be looking down from time to time because I prefer to write things down than, yeah, I think I teach better that way. So let me talk about one of the reasons why I feel like people aren't buying from creators or from people who try to leverage the digital world to sell stuff anymore. And I want to be very clear about this. I'm not just talking about people who are just starting out. I'm talking about people who have built an offer and it's already out there. I'm not even talking about people who have built these things. I'm talking about people who have done the work. You've either identified a skill, you've packaged it, you've packaged it maybe into an offer. How should I put it? You've even maybe put it out there. Maybe you've posted about it. Maybe you've sent some DMs, but nothing is happening. Or maybe you've gotten one or two clients, but it's not consistent. It's not predictable. And now you're wondering, what are you doing wrong? You're thinking, maybe it's my pricing. I don't think that is. Maybe it is, I, you're probably just overthinking a lot of things. And I want to show you this. I want to tell you this, right? One thing I see a lot, or that I also experienced, was that it wasn't my offer because I learned and I figured out how to fix it. So if you currently have an offer right now and people are not buying and you're thinking of, knowing how to fix it, the simple way to do this would be to go through everything that I already taught you in most of the the cash flow 2026 series. But then the next thing I want you to sort of figure out now is that if your pricing seems to be the problem, there's also something you can read through that helps you figure that part out. And at the same time, it's not your audience size. I've seen people with 500 followers make 10K a month. And I've been in a situation where I had 80K followers, I pushed out the product and I made nothing for 3 weeks. So it's not all of those things. The issue is the trust gap. People don't trust you yet. And that is one of the main things that after you fix it, you start to see some very, very good results. And what I mean by this is not in any harsh way. I mean it in a way that most people don't know this or they've not really digested it. People see your content, they see your offer, but they don't see you. They don't know your story. They don't know why you started. They don't even understand what you stand for. And without that, there's no connection. And without connection, there will be no trust. Without trust, you have no sales. So let's think around a possible way to fix this. And right now, an idea is coming to me that, maybe I write or I sketch as I'm talking. So I'm trying to figure out a way to let that show up on screen. If you'd allow me, give me just 2 minutes, right? And I've sort of set that up. I think that'll be a bit easier for me to teach instead of just, what's the word? Trying to do presentation. So give me 2 minutes. Apologies for this. What is this thing? Okay. Sorry, I didn't think about this before, so. Okay. All right. All right. Sorry for the short break. All right. So I think I figured this part out, and I need to get. Uh, hmm. All right. So I think those on Zoom can also see. So we should be good. All right. All right. So I'm just going to do this and use it here. All right. So I'll be doing more of like illustrations, just so that we are on the same page. And what I'm talking about here, I think I stopped where I was talking about the trust gap. And one of the main ways I know we can fix this would be using something I call the trust triangle, right? And there are three main elements when it comes to the trust triangle, right? The first one is visibility, right? So let's say number one is visibility. And with visibility, the question here really is, are you actually showing up as yourself, not just as your business? And the reason I'm asking this question is very important, because a lot of people spend like the majority of their time talking about, okay, their business, their offer, sharing educational content, which is okay, but you, your face, your voice, your personality, is it present in what you're doing? So that's, yeah, let me just do that again. So the trust triangle. So we've got the triangle, right? Does it exist in what you're doing? It's a very important question. So number one, visibility. Sorry, pardon my handwriting. I'm a bit all over the place today. Zoom is looking weird. So let's see if I can fix that. Um, oh yeah. Sorry, if you're on Zoom, just rotate your phone so you can follow along. So first one is visibility, and I already explained what that is, right? We need to see your face, we need to hear your voice, and your personality needs to shine. That is why that is very important. Then the next one is vulnerability. Are you sharing your real story? Are you figuring out what is happening to you and you're sharing that progress in detail, right? Not just your highlight reel, not just the polished version. I mean, the real journey, the real struggle, the mistakes, and the lessons you're learning. Because one of the things that I've seen time and time again is that vulnerability builds trust faster than anything else. The way you talk about your story, the way you talk about the things you're going through, the way you talk about like the things that has happened over the course of you, living and doing life in a very interesting way. That is very important. And I really hope that people get to start to learn that this is not just something that people shout about. It is the core of a lot of the things that we see today. For example, you would occasionally see me sharing stuff about my family, my experiences, my journey, and all of that. All those things are not just for sharing sake. It's because I really want to create a connection between you and myself so that you understand that this guy is human like me. This guy feels the same thing I'm feeling. This guy started from having nothing and all of those things. That is the key to figuring out how to connect with people. And then the last one is value. Now, with value, right? The main question is asking yourself, are you giving before you ask? Most creators go straight to selling. They post their offer over and over and over and over again and wonder why no one is buying. And that's because you have to give some level of value first. Teach, help, serve, build, like create some sort of goodwill. Let people start to figure out that, okay, this person understands this whole thing, but then has a lot more to offer. And there's a way one creators has said it before on Instagram, and it's talked about how share the things that you consider as sawdust, because someone else might see that and probably feel like it is gold and they can mold it together to form a table. But to you, they are basics, they are too common, they are too usual that you think it doesn't really matter. So this is the triangle of, this is the trust triangle, what I call trust triangle. And with this, it then takes you to a place where you can then ask yourself a very important question, which is, with vulnerability, visibility, and value, with this trust triangle, myself as a creator or someone who is thinking of going into the same creator space, right? Are you really leveraging this? Are you taking it seriously? Because I feel like a lot of creators miss this very important part. They don't do it right. They take it for granted, and it's just very tragic or very sad in the bigger scheme of things. So if you don't have any of these three going for you with the things you're trying to do, let me ask you something. And I want you to be honest with yourself, right? I want you to be very open-minded and optimistic. How many of you feel comfortable showing up as yourself, not just as what you want to sell or the money you want to make, but as your own person? If you are comfortable with that, just type it on the chat. If you're comfortable with it, type 1, and if you're not, type 2. I'll be taking a look right now so I can see what you guys are saying. And there's a reason why I'm asking this. I just really want to have a general view of, are you convenient enough to show yourself on the camera, to like show your face, talk about yourself, talk about the things that you're learning? So 1, you're comfortable with it. 2, you're figuring it out. Let me know that. So I know that we're together. All right. Someone is a faceless creator. Yeah, that's also great. No issues. I'm seeing a lot of 2s. YouTube guys, anything? I'll wait on that. All right. So, okay, I'm seeing 2s now. I can see some 1s on YouTube, which is great. Perfect. I love that. I really thought I'm going to see a lot of 1s, but no pressure. Don't worry. It's not that bad. I used to be a 2, and I think I don't know if you guys have seen my first YouTube video. It was really bad, but then I figured out how to navigate that, and the only way around that was to keep making more and keep making more. And it is completely okay. It's normal. Most people feel this way. But the truth I would love to just bring more to you would be, if you're not showing up as yourself, people will never connect with you. They will see you just as another person trying to sell something, because now social media is no longer social media. It is now a business marketplace. So get that really clear. Social media is now a marketplace. And with this marketplace, people are getting tired. Like I already mentioned, people are getting tired of seeing all of the selling. It's like, let's say, I don't know if anyone is very familiar with the eco market here, but, or maybe in Ibadan, if you know Dugbe or Alakia or all of these places that they sell things, you go to the market and you find like 7 people pulling you to try to come to their store. You'll be upset. You'll be like, what's going on here? But then, in all of the chaos, you have this kind of vibe where there's a particular kind of music you really love, and then you just start hearing that music from one store just at a distance. And the music is, calling you. There is a very high possibility that you would probably go to that store, even if you don't know what they're selling. Every other person is shouting. You're hearing someone playing that kind of calm, nice music that you like as a person. You most likely would, go towards that place. Let me know if I'm correct. You can just let me know in the chat and I'll continue talking. And you probably understand the reason why. It's because 80% of the time, you want to feel something and you want it to draw you close. And we are people built on feelings, and without feelings, we can't really operate. So there are a lot of people I know, I live with someone who is a very emotional buyer. If something looks nice, I used to be like that too, especially when it came to buying anything that was well designed. If I see any well packaged product, I'm very quick to go and buy it, because I'm like, oh, it's just cool. It looks nice. The packaging is really great. But that's just the kind of person I am, right? And that's because there's a way those things evoke this kind of feeling for you, and you feel very, connected to those things. And that's just it. But then it's the same way for you as a person who is online right now. If you show up as you, when you share your story, your struggles, your values, people start to see you as a person. They start to see you as someone they can relate to, as someone that they can trust. And I'll share this very quick story. So one of the first time I ever felt this feeling of having a viral video, I remember there was this trend going on then. I think it was 2019, ending of 2019 or early 2020. It was ending of 2020. It was the choose violence uh, challenge, where you would, just say something controversial, and then it's like you're trying to challenge people. These days they call it. I'm trying to think of the Gen Z word now. It's like rage bait. That's what they call it now. But then it was like choose violence. So in my head, I'm like, what can I do? What can I say? So I would always see these videos of all these online gurus say, uh, you know, having $1 million won't make you happy. And I'm like, let me have it first. And I made a video about that in a choose violence type of, style. And the video just picked up. And the video started going everywhere. I was seeing like 20K views. I'd never seen stuff like that before. And this was like even after 3 years of creating content. And then I'm seeing 20K views. And then, a day later, it was already on 45. I was like, what's going on? And then I started seeing people troop into my account. From 3,000, I grew to about 3,800 in just a day. I was like, oh wow, okay, this is interesting. And as that was happening, in my head, I'm thinking, what made people really connect with this video this much? Is because most of the people who were liking the video could relate to the fact that someone telling you having millions of dollars won't make you happy. Let me have the money first and experience it, and then I can then tell you if I'm happy or not. So the feeling was universal, and it made the video get this viral sensation, and then it was all over the place. And you can imagine if you created content around something that feels more connecting to someone, and then the person is like, wait, this person is sharing what I'm sort of going through or what I'm feeling, and then you probably try to follow the person and try to listen to more to the things the person is saying, and over time you choose to maybe buy, right? In you choosing to buy something the person has to offer, the person built trust with you in a way, and that's why you did that. So now let's go a little bit deeper and talk about what happens when people start to understand you more and they start to trust you. When they start to trust you in a funny, very interesting way, they also start to trust your product. It's the same way I personally won't go to any store to buy any milk other than Peak milk, even though it might be a bit pricey in some cases. Because when I was in Nigeria, I never used to buy any milk that wasn't Peak milk, because when I was growing up, I remember this thing very well. Peak milk would always do those adverts, and at the end they would say, "Peak, it's in you." And then I remember them doing the Papillo advert, where you would throw it up. If you're Gen Z here, you might not remember. But, they would throw up, Kano Wanko would throw up the milk and would catch it with his leg and be like, Papillo, I know, say one day you go make us proud. And I'm listening to these things, and, as a young boy, I would do the same thing too. I'll throw it up and catch it in my leg, and I'm always very happy. And in a funny way, Peak milk built trust with me. And I would always choose them over any type of milk, even if it was a bit pricey. And this was something that happened like years ago, and then I'm maybe like 20 years later, I'm still buying Peak milk. It's just showing you what that looks like. And bigger brands know how to do this really well. And I'm just wondering, why are creators not leveraging the same thing? There's some people who are die-hard Apple fans. They will not buy anything other than iPhone or other than Apple. Not because it is the best, because there are a lot of Android phones better than than iPhone. Let's not start an argument. But some people just choose that. There are some people who will prefer Samsung over anything. Personally, I would choose a Google Pixel over any kind of phone because they just build trust with me. So it's something to think about, right? And I'll just say it again. People trust you more than they trust the things you talk about. Your credentials don't sell, but your story does. The features, the bells and whistles, the everything that looks nice in your anything you want to sell doesn't sell, but transformation does. This might be very hard for some visual designers, but your logo doesn't sell anything. But your face will sell 1,000,001 times if you know what you're doing. And I think it'd be good to give you an example, right? So over the 31 day series, I taught strategy, I taught systems, I taught frameworks, and all of that was important. And I also gave some strategy, right? But here's what most creators think about everything that I taught, because I did a poll and that's exactly what I saw. Someone was like, if I just focus on the business stuff and the professional stuff and the tactical, how do I put it? The technical stuff, those are the things that matters. That's what people want to see. They want to see how everything works. No, you're wrong. That's not what works. That's what people talk about, yes. But people don't just buy a service. They buy 80%, 90% of the time the person selling the service. And if I'm being honest with you, nobody just buys a course. Nobody just buys a course. They buy the transformation the course is giving them, or the person teaching the course has experience in. And it's just the same way of telling you that 80% of the time, some people don't go to certain places, not because, the place is nice and all of that. It could be because someone they met there gave them a very warm reception. I'll give you an example. There are a lot of people who will never go to certain restaurants, not because the restaurant is too pricey or too expensive or anything, but because maybe the first time they went there, someone, talked to them somehow, gave them this very weird attitude, and they just, was like, you know what, I don't even care about this anymore. Let me go and find somewhere else to eat. And it happens a lot. So think about it. When was the last time you bought something online? Maybe it's a course, it was a coaching program, maybe it's a product. And answer honestly, why did you buy it? I'll wait on the chat for a bit. Why did you buy it? Honestly, why did you buy it? Answer that question. Because most people think you buy stuff because of the many bullet points, the features, and the long sales page. No, that's not why people buy stuff. Most people buy stuff because of the person that probably put out the course. In my case, I've seen someone pay for a $1,200 3-hour session, which was like consultation, all because I shared the story of how, I moved to the UK, didn't know what to do, figured out how to, restart my UX career, and then in a couple of months, I started my business, Photopole, my startup. And the person was like, wait, so you did all of this while you were, while you just had a son and everything? The person was like, guy, I need to speak with you because I've been feeling the same thing. My wife is about to give birth in like 4 months. And I have all of these ideas and I don't even know how I'm going to build them up, especially when my son comes or like when his child comes. And I'm like, look, I've done this. I have a bit of experience in it. And even in most of the things you have to do. So yeah, it'll be cool. Let's jump on a call. And we had the first 30 minutes call just to figure out exactly what he wants. And I told him, okay, if we do this 3 hour long strategy breakdown session and everything, this is what I typically charge. He didn't even price it. He just said no problem. And in like 4 hours later, I got the payment notification. I was like, wait, this guy he didn't even used to follow me. He just saw that story just once. I posted the video again and added more years to it. It was 2024. I did my journey in the last 10 years video and I posted it. And that was how the guy found me, followed me on Instagram, sent me a DM, we jumped on a call, and that led to a $1,200 coaching session, which was just 3 hours. I'm just sharing this so that you figure that it's not necessarily about the things you write, all those nice words, ChatGPT written sales page or carousels. No. What makes people buy most times is because of you and your story and the supposed transformation you're trying to show people. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. I just saw someone here say that I actually got some scented candles because the owner is my namesake and I completely adore her. Just imagine. There's another one here that I bought it because I needed it and I was also sure I could get a refund if it was not right. I really like that. So Kemi is saying that I bought that course because my problem was addressed in a way that didn't make me feel guilty. This one is important and I'm going to get to it. So don't worry. This is just the first hour. The first hour, we're just trying to break down all of these shells so that we get into the meat of the conversation. Because if you don't break down this foundation, it'll be very hard for you to start to figure out the other things. So yeah. So now my question now is, how do you show up in a way that builds trust? And I'm going to give you a very simple framework. So let's go back to teaching mode, right? So I'm going to give you a very simple framework on how to do this. If you're on Zoom, please flip your phone so you can see what I'm about to put up here. Now, how do you build trust, or how do you show up in a way that builds trust? There is a 4-step framework here, right? Just 4. And the first one that makes it very easy to flow, number 1, is to share your why. Share your why. And in sharing your why, talk about why you started, what problem you were trying to solve for yourself or for others. Because most people never talk about this. They just jump straight to, guys, I have this product and it looks really good and I'm selling it. No. What makes you different? What's the differentiator, the differentiating factor that would make someone choose you over other people? That is your why. For me, the reason why I'm teaching DMAT, if I'm being honest with you, right, was because I got to a point in my life where it felt like I didn't understand how I was going to help my family, balance in a new country. How do I even figure this thing out? And then I just switched from talking about, okay, I'm a creator, I'm a this, I'm a that. I started sharing the problems I was facing or that I faced and why the solution I built or what I figured out is a solution I think a lot of other people need. So people need to know the why, the problem, what really led to what you're doing right now, what you're selling. Very important. Number two is to share your journey. Share your journey. Now, I hope this thing is not blur. Okay, number 2 is to share your journey. And the reason why I'm saying share your journey is because I want you to see something very, very important. In sharing your journey, you don't just share your wins. You don't just share, all those amazing things you've done. Share the struggles, the failures, and the lessons learned. Because when people start to see that you've been where they are, they trust you to be able to get them to where they want to go. Very important. Now, number three is to share your process. Share your process. Now, and when I'm talking about process, I'm talking about, how do I put it? I'm talking about your behind the scenes, your life behind the scenes. And if you follow me on Instagram, you probably have maybe wondered, why do I have two Instagram pages? One that talks about my work and all of that, and then one that is just family centered, or maybe like my experiences, the things I'm doing that is not work related. Is because I want to show you Dimeji behind the scenes, Dimeji when he's not teaching, Dimeji when he's not doing business stuff, So I share my process, how I work, what I'm learning in real time, because people love when they can see the messy in betweens, the things that are happening in the middle, and it sort of makes you a lot more human. It makes you relatable. Like I mentioned, the guy that reached out and said he's struggling with the same thing because he has a son, he's going to have a son in a bit, and he doesn't know how to figure that part out. So that was very important. And then the last one, number 4, is to share your values. So share your why, share your journey, share your process, and share your values. Now, with values, you need to be very, very strategic. What do you stand for? I feel like people don't know that and they don't talk about it enough. What do you stand for? People, I don't know if everybody knows that, but most people know that Dimeji is a Christian, right? It's very open. I don't hide it from my content. I make it very known. I am a Christian. And then it makes people have a feeling that this guy will not compromise on certain things, and they sort of start to see how I do business differently. And I've had people make comments on my page that one of the main reasons why they really like me is because of how I handle my family, how I don't joke with my son and stuff like that. Those are just things that makes you more human, and it makes people connect with you a lot more. So these are the things that attracts your ideal customer, and it starts to send those that are not your people away from you. I remember there was a time I constantly would have this guy talk about, he would say very slanderous things about me and some things that I do. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't do any bad things. So why is this guy? Apparently, one of the reasons why was because I worked with a brand that after I think 3 years, they went bankrupt, and then some people lost money. And when I worked with them, the only thing I talked about was I'm exploring this product, and I'm not necessarily recommending it, but I'm exploring it. And because I've always shared when I'm learning something new, I'm figuring something new out, if anyone wants to also try it, please, at your own discretion, do that. And make sure that you have all the facts right. And I gave my reasons for, trying to, do that, engage with that platform. And because he lost money in the whole thing. And the reason why he lost money was even very silly, right? He used somebody else's ID for verification, and then they blocked his account because of that. And that was why, not even because the company went bankrupt. So I then started to figure out, okay, anything that relates directly with investment, cryptocurrency, and all of that, count me out, because I really want to uphold my own values and I don't want to compromise on that. So those are very important things that you need to start to identify with your brand, because if you don't do that, you could easily, put yourself in trouble if you're not careful. I know you've seen a lot of people who have hurt their brands because they work with some companies, and that's just it. Now, I probably know what you're thinking right now, and it most likely will be you saying something like, Dim, but I'm not that comfortable talking about myself. I'm not a personal brand. I just want to focus on my business. I get it. I really do get it. But here's the reality of things. In the creator economy right now, you are the business. people are not buying from a faceless company, they're buying from you. And even if you have a faceless account, right, there still needs to be a level of humanity that you put out, maybe because there are ways you can communicate emotions through what you write, through how you share your story. So you need to really get that. People are not buying from a faceless company. Even if you run a faceless page and all of that, there's still a way you can show up more as yourself in the way you write, in the way you communicate things with people. Because the more you share your story, your values, your personality, the more people will trust you. And eventually that leads to sale. So over the last, like during the 31 days, I gave all the tactical stuff, the strategy, the frameworks. But I keep coming back to this same truth. A lot of creators feel like talking about themselves isn't business. It's not professional, it's not strategic. But that's wrong. So that's why I've been trying to spend all of this first hour to really help you see that you are more than your product. You are more than whatever business you would eventually start. People trust you more than your product. And that's why I was spending a lot of time tonight on this. Not just on how to scale, how to build systems, how to make money. It's more into how do you build connection, how do you build trust, how do you build a community of people who actually care about what you're doing and actually care about you. Because that's what really turns followers into buyers, not just people who are like, and then people who buy from you, it turns them into like very loyal customers. And customers eventually become people who advocate for you and even refer other people to you. That's how you build sustainable income. And that's what I'm hoping that you would build this year. So now let's do a quick recap of where we've been so far, and we'll dive deep into step 4, 5, and 6 of DMAT. But before we do that, we're going to do quick Q&A, just so that there's a level of engagement happening and nobody's feeling left out. So yeah, if you are on Zoom, I'm going to give some room for you to maybe ask some questions. Anything you feel you need to get clarity on, it would be good to do that now. So is that okay? So if you have questions and you're on Zoom right now, this would be the perfect time to have this going before we start the next couple of things. I'll give a minute. If there is no one, you could just raise your hand on Zoom. If there is no one like that, then we'll proceed. If you have any questions so far, even if you're on YouTube, just pop your questions in the chat. Okay. So does that mean we can go on? Okay, so on the question here says, when I talked about it, the trust triangle, I mentioned visibility. How can you solve this if you're a faceless content creator? I think I already mentioned it. And what I said was, you need to think about the how did I put it again? The simple framework that helps you build trust. And the first place to start would be to share your why. And in sharing your why, it is the way you talk about it, the way you write. I don't know the specific type of faceless content you create, but if it is heavy on writing, then you need to spend a lot of time, writing and write your story. I mean, I don't show my face on Substack, right? And in 1 year, I've built an audience of, I think, 30,000 plus on Substack from just writing my stories and my letters. So that's one way. And in the letters, I am very visual. Like I write as though the person reading it is in the same room with me. And I write it and I use my stories, my real life experiences, the things I'm learning. I remember one of the biggest articles one of the most viewed or most read articles I wrote on Substack letters was one that I talked about, um, me, I think losing a friend, not losing a friend per se, but I I was trying to write about a friend that I feel like we've gone apart, and I wrote about it just so that the person feels or starts to like I was just writing about friendships and how friendships die and all of that, and the video just went all over the place because people could easily like resonate with it. So those are ways you can write, and when you do that, you can build more trust with people. Like just find a way to create how do I call it? Find a way to create stories that are relatable and I'll just say be honest, don't fabricate stuff. In being honest, you actually connect the right people. So I hope that makes sense. Kenny, let me know if it does. If it doesn't, we can still break it down a lot more. Now, okay, perfect. Now on YouTube, there's a question that says, for people who don't really have a background profile already, do you have to start building personality? And then there's another question, can I use AI to share my story that will make me visible? Will that work for my visibility? Can these also be applied to products that are not yours but you sell? Okay, really good questions. Number one is, if you don't already have a background profile already, I don't know what that means. I feel like everybody already has a story to tell. So as long as you have a story to tell, there's a background to you that feels very rich, and I feel like it's important to leverage that. Um, leverage that, in building something that has personality involved in it. You're creating room for people to learn more about you and see you as a not just a random page. You don't have to show your face if you don't want to do that, but you can write things about yourself. There's this woman that I know is very popular. Her name is Alex L. She's a writer, and I don't know what she looks like, even though she has an Instagram page. I've probably seen some of her pictures before, but I can't visually remember what she looks like. But I always see her writing. She's one that does. She was one of the first people that started doing those small notes of quotes of I am in aspirations and all those things, or like affirmations, and that's where I knew her from. And I can't even remember what she looks like. So write in a way that people can connect with you. Let your personality shine. For the person who asked, can you use AI? AI can't tell your story the way you tell your story. So my recommendation is, maybe look for all the, like, maybe in ChatGPT, do an audio recording of, just chat with ChatGPT like you're chatting with a human being, and it would help you structure your story in a way that will be shareable. I know that for sure. So, but not that AI does all the work for you. No, be the one to feed it the real content, the real thing, the real story, and it just gives you maybe like a structure to follow. Then the last question is, can all of these be also applied to products that are not yours but you sell? Yes, that's affiliate marketing. People won't buy from you if you don't build trust with them. It's just like you recommending something that you know or that you believe is good. But then for you to recommend something, you must have at least add, like really, really good trust with people. One of the videos that probably made some of you join this call was the video of the woman talking about how she started this 2 years ago and all of that. And if you go to the woman's page, you see something. You see that when she's talking, she's sharing the journey of how these products have been helpful, how she's making something different, how that really helped her husband and all of that. That is how you build trust. And then in all of that, you then recommend things to people. It's pretty much it. It's like you go into a restaurant and really love the food there, and there's a friend who really trusts that, oh, any place you go to must be quality place, and you tell the person, go and try that restaurant, the person will go because the person trusts you. So you're not the one selling the food, but then you're the one recommending the place. Now imagine the restaurant is paying you for recommending them. That's just how it works. So yes. The last question here is that, is it a question? Okay, it's a question. Thank you so much for sharing this valuable information. I'm open to share my journey in hopes of inspiring others. What is the best way to help others and earn? For example, I may share that I use a product or gear that helped me on my wellness journey. How do I connect this all? I think there was a time I did a collaboration with Kajabi. Kajabi is a all-in-one creator platform which I use, and they reached out, or I reached out to them, and they agreed to work with me because they saw that I can already use the product, and they gave me an affiliate link for when anybody when anybody uses that code or clicks on the link and makes a purchase, I get a commission from it. And that was because I used the product, and I've talked about it before. So it wasn't just because I was doing the branding with them that I started using Kajabi. I've been using Kajabi way before then. So it's up to you to figure out how to connect things. For example, I can create an affiliate link with Canva and share with people. I can create an affiliate link with Amazon and share where I buy my my microphones, my camera gears and stuff like that. I did it with Jumia when I was in Nigeria. I used to buy stuff from Jumia a lot, and I created an affiliate link. And when everybody is asking, "Oh, Dean, where did you buy that? Lamp? Where did you buy that? Phone holder? Where did you buy that mouse?" I'll just tell them, "Oh, it was from Jumia. This is the link." When they use the link, they click and they buy. I get a small cut from whatever it is that was sold. So that's how you connect the whole thing. I inspire people to also like do stuff for themselves. And occasionally people see my work setup and they ask me, where did you buy that from? And I tell them it's from this place, and I send them the link. So if I really like a product, I can choose to earn from it because I've been giving them my money now. Like, I subscribe to Canva and the rest, so maybe I probably make some money back off it. So that's just it. So I hope that helps. Last question I'll take before we continue to the next phase. It is, what do you say about creating content without having anything to sell just yet? Wanting to share your story, document, grow, and build confidence. Is this necessary to niche down? I won't necessarily say niche down, but then start from somewhere. And in the starting from somewhere, I need you to be very intentional with the way you talk about yourself and what you do. Why am I saying this? I remember that when I started creating content, I was sharing my my design journey, how I started with design, my architecture projects and all of that. And it was nice. It was a niche. It felt good. But as I was growing, I was seeing that there's a lot more to me than just architecture. So I stopped sharing architecture stuff, and I was talking more about how I'm learning design, how I'm, finding clients, how I'm doing projects and all of that. And then from there, people started seeing that, okay, this guy knows design, so let me start learning from him. I started teaching design on YouTube. I did a few classes in person and online. And then in 2020, I switched entirely to focusing on the creator journey. I started sharing, how I'm figuring out all of these things, navigating the process, and I wasn't selling anything. All my classes were free. It was just me teaching people what I knew how to do. So you don't have to sell anything, but then eventually you get to a place where you will feel like, you need to make ends, not make ends meet, but you need to get something in return or get paid for your brilliance, if that makes any sense. So I think that part is also necessary. And really amazing questions. We'll just go ahead to the next section, which is a lot more technical. So, all right. One more question just dropped. What if my story is an embarrassing past? that is slightly relatable with emotional struggles. I mean, one based on errors and back and forth that even my parents might grasp if they hear it. I have a vision to connect with young people who are dealing with similar struggles despite their visible, beautiful life. This is deep. So what I would say to you is be very strategic, and if you're a Christian, please pray about it. I've openly talked about some of my past addictions in a bit to encourage people. And my dad saw the video because he follows me on Facebook, and he saw the video and he messaged me and asked me, when was this? How come we didn't know about it? And I was like, see, it's just me being a youth, right? I was trying to explore. I was trying to, I was just going through life, and that happened. And I'm in a place where I've overcome it now. I'm a lot better, but I feel like that story can help a lot of other people. And when I shared that story, I got lots of DMs from young boys who were also going through the same thing or who had similar struggles. And that sort of led me to, or even before that, so while going through that, after leaving that season, I took a couple of courses, became a counselor, a certified one, and I was helping young people also figure out how to not fall into this trap. So yes, it might be embarrassing, but then one I can even share with you that is still like something that when my dad heard it, it was like, you this boy. So I was about to start my second degree, my master's, and they gave me all my fees. Like, okay, now you're an adult now, take your fees and pay your fees when the time is due. They gave me access to the bank account. And what did I do? I used like almost 60% of the money to start a business. And the business crashed. I didn't make my money back. And I had to start taking odd jobs. And I worked like a crazy person to make the money back so I could pay my fees. And nobody knew for like 8 years until one day I was on a podcast episode with, I can't remember, maybe it was Salem or someone. And I just, mentioned it. My dad still didn't see it because it was a podcast episode. But then one day I did that same, my journey over the last 10 years. I made that video and I posted it. And then I posted it, my dad saw it on Facebook and was like, are you this boy? But I'm a lot older now, so it felt easy, and it's an experience that I had. It wasn't fun. It was reckless. But then now, I just share this so that others don't make the same mistake. Be very diligent in how you do things. Don't use resources that are not yours to do, to start a business. I always share that. So yeah. But like I said, please, if you're a Christian, pray about it. Be sure that you can handle whatever comes with it, because there's the possibility that it will come with, it might come with some clashes or like some lashback, but at the same time, think about the long-term effect of helping someone. For example, I've openly had conversation with my wife about our journey, our life, and where we're going in the future. And we put that out, and there's been lots and lots of testimonies from people just sharing how that episode alone has been really impactful. So like I said, pray about it. Be convinced that you want to go ahead and do this. And yeah. Okay, this will be the last question. We need to go on. Well, we've got a few more hours to go. But Oluwakemi, if you feel okay with it, you could send me a DM or an email, and maybe we could talk more and see possible ways to navigate this and do it with wisdom. So, all right. Mel is saying that, Elodim, my question is how to find an audience, or do you just post, hoping your audience comes to you? So this one, your audience won't just magically appear. That's the truth. But the thing is, they start to find you bit by bit. like, I don't think there's a way for you to just go and look for people to come and watch your content or find you. No, it's like scattering your seeds, in a fertile land, and hope that it lands in a good place that it can grow. You can't really control the growth of those seeds, but it is your job to gather those seeds, prepare them, and then let them go out. Now, when they go out, if you can spot where they are, where they dropped, also do the additional job of watering them if you can. And this analogy, what I mean by this is, by that is this: when you start posting content, even if you have zero audience, right? You start, the first couple of months that you start, you have to carry it on your head. And what I mean by that is this: when I started my podcast in 2019, the first thing I remember I did was the first episode, I took the link and I started sharing it on my WhatsApp page, on my WhatsApp stories, and I put the link everywhere. I also did broadcast with my entire contact. I was shameless, and I'm being honest. I knew I was cringe, but I was shameless because I'm like, I know I want to do this thing full time, and I want to really do it well, and I really want people to see it. So I can't just make it and then just hope that the algorithm will push it. No, I had to do a little bit of pushing myself. I was on all the platforms. I was on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, everywhere, and I put those links out there. And the people in my network or in my community, they saw it, right? They saw it, and some of them gave me some feedback. Someone told me I would waste my life with that particular, if I keep doing that, and that was a huge shock to me. But then I learned a lot of things by doing that, and I was the very first point of marketing for myself. Like, I did a lot of self-promotion. And then the first time my video got over 100 views on YouTube, it was after 6 months. And that after 6 months, it was because the topic I was talking about was something that a bigger creator on YouTube already made the same topic about. So the moment that person posted his own video and was going viral, I feel like YouTube just picked up my own video, and I remember someone else who was watching watched that video, watched my own, and then created a playlist, added that person's video and added my own video, and then those were the two videos on the playlist. So the moment people started watching that viral video, my video was automatically being pushed to be the next one people watch. And that was how I got my first ever 100 viewers within maybe 2 days. And from there, I had more people, watch. I just saw more people watching the old videos, and then one of them just took off out of nowhere. And then I had my first 200 subscribers on YouTube. And because I saw that, I was like, I have to leverage this. So the first thing I did was to do a about me video. And that about me video just created this really nice effect of letting people know that, okay, there's more to me than just these things I shared about. And so the more I was doing that, pushing the videos, pushing the content to everywhere I could find. And then I did something very strategic. I focused on one platform to be the one where I grow the most. I was just, I was a lot more active on Instagram. I was doing Instagram lives. And then 2020 happened. I started jumping on occasional trends. I was doing funny video, not skits, but I was doing funny creative videos. That is like normal things people can relate to, and that also helped to push things. So as you start, you can learn, figure out what works, what doesn't work. Try and, like I always give this strategy for anybody who's creating content: create 3 types of content: audience building content, community building content, and sales content. Audience building gives you, how do I put it? Content that is created specifically to help you increase the number of people following you. And these are like maybe jumping on trends, viral video stuff, and all of that, or sharing tips and tricks. For example, the day 28 video that went viral was just me realizing that I've been seeing a lot of other creators do all those reaction videos, like the one Eric and Solomon Bucci does. They're going to watch someone's video in front of the camera, and then they'll talk about the video that we just watched. Or Eric will say something like, I want to show you a video, don't go away, listen. And then you listen, and after I'm going to tell you something important, you watch the video. And that was why I saw it. I was like, okay, let me try it. And then I tried it, and the video just blew up. So try and test the waters. Create content that is your own style, but then occasionally branch out of that to do something that feels a little bit different. You know, so this is deep. I'm trying to be visible, but it feels like betraying the person who taught me what I know. I don't think you're betraying anyone. You know what? We're going to come back to this question because it ties back to some of the things we talk about eventually. So I'm going to keep this one. But I don't think you'll be betraying anyone. And I think I will need more context. But we'll get there. So yeah. Let's get back into the conversation, all right? And then we'll keep it going from there. Okay. So we've spent almost 30 minutes answering questions. And now it's time to go into DMAT and give you something more robust, like properly walk you through some of these things in detail. So yeah. Just give me a moment. I'm trying to get that sorted. Okay. It's so strange. Why is this thing not coming out? Okay, I think I know what to do now. All right, so what I'm going to show you now would be a lot more detailed, and I feel like it's just in a bit to help you see things a bit clearer, right? So if you're on Zoom right now, I don't know if you would mind going to YouTube so you can follow along what I'm going to talk about. Or let me see if I can share screen here. Let's see. Will that show up? I think it should. If you're on Zoom, can you let me know if you can see what I'm like? See the screen I'm sharing. So I can't see Zoom right now. So if you can just, if someone can, unmute themselves and let me know, that'll be cool.
We can
Yes, we
see it.
can.
All right, perfect. So the reason I'm doing this is it's a little bit more easy to talk about it this way. So it feels easier. All right. So now one key thing is this, that with the DMAT framework, it's a 6-step foundation for trying to build something sustainable. And I feel like if you're able to create something repetitive, that gives you value and you're able to scale without burning out. And the first thing we talked about was how to identify your valuable skill. And then we went ahead to how to package and price your offer, and then figured out how to get your first 5 clients. But then today we're going deep into, how to deliver and document, how to scale, productize, and build systems. And then the last one is to figure out what is this new thing you can start to build even after you've done all of this. So I need you guys to follow me as I take you through this. Now, with this, the first and most important thing you need to know is there is this gap that I feel like a lot of people don't take seriously. And that gap has created a very strange feeling for most people, right? Everything you know how to do, everything you're thinking of presenting to anybody, anything you want to sell, whether it's your first client or whatever that is, it's important for you to know that if that particular thing, you don't figure out how to document it, then I would say you've wasted your time. And this is basically you not spending a lot of time trying to, sell your time for money. That's never the best way to make money, because you have to protect your time in such a way that it's not consuming all your time, but then you're able to earn something substantial from it. Now, every client project is supposed to be an asset for anything you do in the future, which means delivering great work starts great, it starts good, but then making it something that is repetitive or future proof, you should be able to document the process, and that is how you're able to create leverage. Now, what exactly do you then document, right? You document your step-by-step process, and what that does for you is it creates something called standards of operations. And those things, if you figure out that this is someone's problem and this is why they need this, it helps you figure out how to sell it. I don't know if that's making sense to anyone. Because if you spend, let's say, 10 hours doing a particular thing, which isn't bad in its own sense, but then it's a lot more reasonable for you to figure that, okay, because I've spent 7 hours doing this particular thing and delivering this process, let me document, everything that happened within those 7 hours. How did I, share this thing? How did I get to these results? If I document this process, is it possible that someone else can just watch or go through my step-by-step process and achieve the same results for themselves without me having to do it for 7 hours? That is the step-by-step process that you then turn into an SOP. And that eventually becomes a digital product you can sell. It could be an ebook that you sell. And I'll be very honest with you, DMAT, in the way I'm talking about it right now, is an SOP that I created. It was my own step-by-step process. This 6-step, framework was my step-by-step process of how I was able to move from not knowing how to make money from my content creation and all the other things I do, or from skills that I had, to being able to start earning actively and consistently from it. And now that is what I'm teaching to you. It's basically my SOP. And then another thing to document would be screenshots of results that you're getting. This helps you create case studies. Remember that I shared with you 3 people who messaged me that they followed the DMAT for the first 3 days and then they're getting results. Sorry, for the first two weeks and they're getting results already. I have screenshots of the conversations, and that already gives me case studies. For when someone is asking, oh, Dim, are you sure this your DMAT thing works? I'm able to say yes. See this person's, testimony. See this person's comment. And then you should also figure out how to start creating templates that make it easy for you to do the work you do. In 2019, I created a weekly tracker. It was a document that I used to teach, right? And with that weekly tracker, I was able to, all right, just coming back to the screen. And with that weekly tracker, right, I was able to start figuring out, okay, what makes the most sense for me right now to do? If I'm able to find at least the easiest way to stop overthinking how I'm making videos or creating content, how I'm able to manage my time effectively. And I created a very small a A4 document that makes it easy for me to track my time and all of that. And what did I do? That eventually turned into a product that I now sell. It's called a productivity tracker and so many other things like that. So you can literally turn all those kind of things into products. And then the last thing to document now would be, what works for you and what doesn't work for you. This helps you refine your offer or anything that you're doing. Let me just share this again. Yeah, so that helps you refine what you do, and that is so important. Just putting that out there. Now, if we continue, step 5 is now more like is us now going more into detail, right? Figuring out exactly how to figuring out the things that really drive sales and how you can start to leverage other things that you know that, okay, these things are the core of your business. Now, if you really want to start to scale and start to stop trading time for money, you need something that feels like an engine that makes everything run without constant effort. So you need to focus on creating systems for these 3 core functions. Number 1 is your content creation system. How do you manage creating content consistently and visibly without the daily grind? How do you batch create content? How do you repurpose old content? How do you create proper content calendar? That is the first, side. The second side now is client onboarding systems. You need to create a very seamless experience that the first day someone engages your product or your service or what you do, they're able to have everything they need to go from 0 to 100. So templates, forms, sequences, quizzes, all of those things, you need all of that. And then the last one now is how do you deliver the work that you have? So how do you create repeatable, high quality results for each client? And for me, I have this Notion template that I've created for every single person who wants to work with me, whether that's on one-on-one. And the moment they pay or they agree to start working with me, they follow the same checklist, the same flow, the same system to start getting results for themselves, which is very, very important. And right now, I'm going to show you, or I'm going to talk you through another very important angle when it comes to this. And I think I want you to see my face when I'm talking about this. Now, one of the most important things that I feel like people take for granted is this whole idea that you have to have everything figured out before you start. I don't think so. You just need to document all the important things that makes your work what it is, and then you start building from there. Now, I think I skipped doing a recap of step 1, 2, 3, and that was because I probably felt like maybe you already know it, but I'll do a quick recap because it leads up to what I'm saying next. So step 1 was just basically you figuring out what your most valuable skill is, because most people think I don't have a skill, I'm not an expert. That's not true. You have a skill, but the problem is that you don't know which one is valuable, meaning that why should people even pay you? So if you're in that situation right now, I have 3 questions for you, right? Number 1 is, what do people come to you for? Maybe advice, maybe help, or whatever it is. Number 2, what have you been paid for before? even if it was in your 9 to 5, or maybe anything. Has anybody paid you to do something for them? And then number 3 is, what can you teach someone else right now to do immediately? Like, what can you teach someone else to do right now? These places, they have some sort of overlapping, and if you can figure that part out, then you're in a good place to start with. Now, the next phase now to this is, if you don't know what results you can get for people, it can be very hard for you to scale through a lot of things that I'm going to share with you next. And I'll give you a very practical example. So on day 16, I got a message from someone called Sarah, and she's currently a marketing coordinator in a tech company in Nigeria. And in her head, she was thinking, I mean, I'm not an expert, I'm just working a 9 to 5. But then she's a marketing coordinator. So when she read the article from Substack on I think day 8, she figured that, okay, maybe she can do social media management. And then when she asked herself these 3 questions that was in the article, she figured out that people in her company always came to her to sort of figure out email campaigns. And then she's been doing email marketing for 3 years in her own job. But then she also knows how to sort of do social media and all of that because she does it on a 9 to 5. And in my head, when she was writing all of those things, I figured, okay, this lady has a valuable skill, email marketing. But that wasn't what eventually became what she started getting paid for. It wasn't email marketing, it was social media management. Because he eventually looked at the people in our audience or the people within our close circle. I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was her sister-in-law's friend who happens to have a wellness brand in the US. And she was able to pitch to that person for social media management for a month. And they closed the deal of $800, which in Nigerian money, that's actually very interesting. And in my head, that's like very, very, very powerful first step. Now, in her own case, she's figured out, okay, what skill it is. So once you figure out what skill it is, then the next phase is to figure out how to then package this and put a price to it. And this is one thing most people get wrong. They think you need to turn it into an offer. No, that's not the case. What you need to figure out first is, how do I not underprice because I don't feel like I'm an expert enough? And then the second one is, let me make sure that I don't overcomplicate the whole thing and then be giving people too many things. So I created a very simple framework for this, which I've already shared with you. Number 1 is having a clear transformation. I'm going to bring that to you now. Having clear transformation, which is very important, like very, very important. And the whole idea of having clear transformation is this. If people realize that there is something you want to do and you're stalling about it, it can create a very silly problem. So clear transformation is just another way of saying that what are the results the person who wants to work with you is going to get? Not what do I do? It most likely should be what do they get? Because anybody coming to try to buy from you, they're most likely, selfish. So figure that part out. And then number 2 is the things you deliver. What are you actually delivering? Be very specific. And then the last one now is value-based pricing. There is a video on YouTube that breaks this down, and it was a video I created called value-based pricing. It probably is about before affiliate marketing. That's the most recent video I posted. So that gives you the ground up journey on that. So if you're able to figure out these 3 things, you won't price wrong. But then I'm going to walk you through something else that I have that makes it easy for you. So I'm going to get there. And then the last thing that we talked about during the 31 days was, how do you find your first 5 clients? In finding your first 5 clients, you mostly do that using, how do I put it? You mostly do that using warm outreach. Yes, warm outreach. Like the Sarah lady, she knew that the friend of her sister-in-law had a business and their Instagram was a mess. So she just reached out to that person, spoke to the sister-in-law, asked her, "Do you think this person will be interested in this?" She said yes. And then they made a connection, and then they spoke. After 3 days, they came to an agreement, and the deal was sealed. So you need to look at people within your network, friends, former colleagues, people in your network, people that already know you and know that you have those skills or you have that experience. And the truth is that I don't want you to pitch immediately. I want you to ask if they need help with your skill. It's important for you to ask before you just go ahead and say, okay, this is the price. Ask them so that they can even give you a price higher than what you are probably thinking in your head. And then the second thing to do after this is to have some sort of discovery session with them or call where you talk to them about, what they are struggling with, what their problem is, and what solution you have to offer them. And then after this, understanding the basics of follow-up. I feel like one of the major issues that creative space is if someone says no to an offer the first time, you feel like, they don't want to buy from you. No, they probably are just busy. So you need to spend more time really interacting with them and follow up. So if someone says no, if someone says, I'll think about it, follow up again. And in follow up again, you might just figure out that, okay, maybe this person is quite busy. I think there's an example I'm trying to remember right now that someone shared. Let me check. Let me check my phone because I have the DM that basically broke it down. All right, found it. Yeah, so the person had someone that she reached out to, and the person only responded twice. The person was interested in working and responded twice. And then she went ahead to tell the person, okay, I feel like this whole following up thing is not working. So she tried to switch it up and figured that maybe it would be good for her to ask direct questions and follow it up with all of the other people who had similar interest in the product. 3 of them replied. One of them said, "Oh, sorry, I missed your messages. Let's talk." And then they had a discovery session, and then they had an offer presented. And I think she was a person who said she's doing graphic website design, and was about to charge £400, 400,000 naira, and ended up charging 1.2 million naira for the entire website, branding, and all of that. Because during the call, she realized that the business was worth a lot more, and increase the price and got the result. So that's the 3 steps that we've sort of dealt with, and I've given you everything about. Now going into step 4, 5, and 6, I already talked about that. Step 4, 5, and 6 is pretty much understanding how to deliver and document. I've explained that, but I want to go a little bit into detail so it doesn't feel strange. Now, there are 3 main parts when it comes to you documenting something in detail. Is that if you don't deliver well, it'll be hard for you to document, and then you won't know why it matters in the first place. Like, this is the strategy that you need to create that would help you scale. So first, let's talk about delivery, right? When you land a new client, you need a system on how to onboard them or serve them and communicate with them. Like, most people wing it. Every new client is different and every project is quite chaotic, and that's true. But it's not sustainable to try to be doing it manually or one-on-one. It can be very messy. So you need something that is very basic, like a client onboarding system. And this is basically how you bring new clients into your world. A list of things I think you will need. If you can write this down, that would be good. First, you need some sort of welcome email or welcome message. You need either a contract or an agreement, depending on the flow of your work. You need an intake form to gather information, like, just a way to let people know more about what you're doing. And then the last thing is you need a kickoff call to set expectations. I'm going to do manual examples with you based on what DMAT is as a product, and I'm going to show you. So just stay with me. All right. All right. So I'm going to bring this up now, just in a moment. All right, so I'm going to share my screen so that everyone gets to see this and walk you through what I'm talking about. All right. All right. So I'm right here, and this is everything about DMAT. And if anyone eventually chooses to go ahead and say, okay, I want to buy DMAT framework, the complete guide, every single thing inside, and know what it looks like, this is everything. And the first thing is I'm able to give you access, or sorry, I'm able to take you through a journey that when you get in, you can flow through this journey and figure things out with ease. So you land here and you're able to, see everything that you're going to be getting in the DMAT. I think in the email, I think I mentioned that step 1, 2, and 3 is available on the 7th, that's today. And then step 4, 5, and 6 will be coming up in a bit because it's still being worked on. So it's a lot more detail for anyone who wants to get access to it. But then let's just, like what I was talking about, a proper onboarding structure or like something to get people in. So let's say you click start now. This is where I collect all your information or get details about what you're doing. And then, what are the skills that you currently have? Writing, I'll just pick the skills that I have. So it's a lot more visual. Design, video editing, photography, marketing strategy, coaching, training, web development, content creation, speaking. All right, so I'm done with that and I click apply. How long have you been developing these skills? 5 years now or more. What do people constantly ask you for help with? Well, for me, I could just answer how to monetize my skills, right? Okay, their skills. And I click next. If you had to teach someone one thing you're good at in the next hour, what would it be? Anyway, so I'm just pretty much showing you what it looks like to create a flow for someone to find, want to work with you or want to buy your product, and you don't have to do anything that is too manual. You're able to walk them through something easily, and get results that you want, right? This is just me. I think, yeah, 1 to 5 hours. All right, so all of this is just so that I'm collecting as much data about whoever it is that is trying to get access to this. And let's see. and I click next, and then, finish this. Now, the reason why I shared all of this is just so that you can see a typical onboarding session for anyone who I probably would bring into the DMAT framework, anyone who wants to get access to that, right? And just so that you know what I've been talking about and the flow of things, you need to figure out a way to be able to, onboard someone in easily, where the person comes in, they get all the details, all of that. You need that, very important. So a welcome message, a contract on agreement, an intake form. That was an intake form, or like collection data form. And then you can then set maybe like a call that sort of sets expectation of what the person should expect. And you need to do the same thing for every client. So instead of doing the same thing every single time for every single client that comes your way, you can create a template for it easily. You can create a template for it easily. So if you figure that part out, then you can then go to the next one, which is like create a service delivery process, like how things actually work. And for you, this is like your own checklist on how you're able to deliver your processes. Talking about a step-by-step process of what you do, a timeline for when things happen, like a place where you check, okay, are you sure that you're fulfilling all the things that you said you were going to do? And then the third thing is think about how you constantly communicate with the person who wants to work with you. Even if they're buying just one ebook from you, right? How often do you send them newsletters? How often do you send them messages? How often do you check in and figure out bought any product from me, whether even if it's a free product? You probably get emails from me to say, I hope you've had a good time learning or figuring out this and that. So you need to do that at least, just so that you keep that conversation going, or the relationship going, and it doesn't feel like you don't care about the person who buys something from you. And the truth is, if you don't communicate proactively, people get nervous and they think that you're not working, even if you are. So let that be the case. And then the last thing is setting clear expectations. You need to make it known to people, depending on the kind of service you offer, even in your products that you sell, disclaimers that this is what you would expect, this is what you need from them, this is what success looks like, and this is the timeline. 80%, 90% of the time, this prevents issues with people that you work with. So I'm just laying that out there. And that's basically the whole idea of everything you deliver. You onboard, you create processes, you do systems or communication, and then you set expectations. So now let's talk about documentation, right? And this is basically you figuring out how to document the things that you are doing. And I'm going to show you, again, real proof of how I've been able to use documentation to level up how I do stuff, especially for my business, right? Where do I go? Trying to see. So for me, one main place I use is Notion, and I'll show you that in just a bit. All right, share my screen now. I hope we're following and everything is clear. All right, so this is Notion. And when I say documentation, you need to actually be very detailed, right? Say, for example, I'm trying to show everything about the cash flow series that I did in December. And this is everything from that series. You can see how well detailed everything is. So if I click on the big promise. This was day one. You would see the script, the hook, everything is here. If I click on day two and all the way to the last day, everything is here. And this is just for the script. There are a lot more for, like, let me show you this. I'm revealing all my secrets. Let me show you this. This is the dashboard I have for anytime I have a new client who wants to do any bit of coaching, whether it's a founder or anything. And this is where everything goes, right? And you can see that I have systems in place that if I have a new mentee, all I have to do is click here, impute the person's name, and just type out everything they need. And anytime this person needs anything, I share this Notion page with them, and then they just come in here and they have access and they can see all that pertains to them as a mentee. And that's basically how I work things out for me. And that is the best way it works. If there are any courses I want to recommend to them, if there are any assignments they have, if I have any notes, anything, this is where everything comes to. And I want to even go, let's say, a little bit more in detail. Yeah, you know what? Let's just leave it here. So I'm not sharing too much secrets. Yeah. So that was the core part of what I was talking about, documentation. And you need this to be able to figure things out and make things as detailed as possible. So I hope it's making sense and you're getting a feel of everything that we're going through right now. If you have any places where you need questions, please just drop them in the chats and I'll visit them. Now, we've talked about documentation. There is one last thing to talk about with this same system, and it is that even if you're delivering great work and you're getting amazing results and your client is happy, you need to capture every single detail of what's happening. You need to take notes, you need to save screenshots, you need to document the process, because if 6 months later you want to scale or raise your prices, you have no proof, you have no testimonials, you have no case studies. You basically would have to start from scratch with every single person or every single, like, that's a lot of work to just waste that time that you've used to devote to doing great work, and then you don't have any systems, anything that you've sort of, created to figure out how to do stuff. So don't start from scratch. Take notes of your process. Every time you do something for someone, for a client, or do a service, write it down. Week 1, I did X. Week 2, I did that. Week 3, I adjusted this. And then it becomes a system. It becomes your standards of procedure, which is your SOP. And you can create, it becomes a repeatable system that you can use over and over and over again. Like I mentioned, take screenshots, record the things that works. Not everything you do, not everything you try would work, and that's fine. But when something does work, capture it. If you sent out an email and it had like 40% open rate, please document that, because you can adopt the same template for that email to even do something better. If you did an outreach message and you got people respond about 30%, or you created an ad and there was 5% conversion, document all those things. That is the library you're building for your work and impact. Very important. And then the last thing is try to create templates. Let me take you into my Canva. And I think my main job is just to be very open and transparent with you, so you know that, okay, this is how this guy does his stuff, and he's not just teaching you something that doesn't work. So yeah. All right. So I'm going to show you my Canva with the hopes that you understand more about what I'm trying to show you, right? And you can see a little bit into all of these details. So if you can see my screen, this is my Canva, and all of the, let me stop sharing this and share it properly. All right. Now, all you see here are, templates that I just pick, reuse, and I'm on the go with. And this is even for content creation and for anything relating to business. This is mainly for content creation, so you don't get it mixed up. Now, you see all of those write-ups I do. This is where it all comes from, right? This is where it all comes from. Everything comes from here. If you've been seeing all of these new posts that I've been making, everything comes from here. And I don't have to manually be doing it every single time. All my thumbnails are in one place so that it is the easiest to just flow with. For example, this was day 31 on Substack. And this is where everything comes from. And the reason why I'm sharing all of this is so that you figure that, okay, there are other ways to, like now, this is version 1 of this post, right? This is another version of it. And I'm sharing this so that you know that you need to create in such a way that nothing is a waste, nothing is lost. Now, in one of the frameworks, this DMAT framework, right? There's something important that I want to show you. It's a template that I've shared, that I use for myself, and then I made it into a template that people can buy, or that is part of the cash flow kit. I think it's all the way down. Where is it? It's been some time I did that. All right, so this media kit, perfect. This is what I used to use, and it just became a template, right? You can easily download it, edit your name, and you can impute all the details about you. That's if you're trying to build your portfolio as a creator. And this was something I created in like 2020 when I was trying to pitch the brand. And there were a lot of people were asking questions around, okay, how do I do it? I don't know what details to put. I've already made everything possible here. So you see what I mean when I say you need to, what's the word? When I say you need to, you can't see anything. Can any other person still see stuff? Sorry, Oluwakemi. Maybe it's just you, or if it's a universal problem. If it wasn't just you, others would have probably spoken. So, all right. So, but you get the whole idea of what I'm sharing. It's just you being able to have things that work, and you can constantly go back and reuse. And if it gets to a point where you need to create a digital product, or you need to sell something, or someone is really likes a particular style you're doing, make sure that you document everything. Like I have posts and articles from 4, 6, 7 years ago that I can easily just come back and turn it into something else, and it's good to go. So take note of that. Now we're getting to the interesting part now, and I need to mention this or talk about it so we don't spend too much time on this, and then we can start getting more questions. Now, once you've been able to figure out how to document, you've created your templates and all of that, documentation is important. Now we then go into what documenting sort of helps you do. The most important one that I can't stress enough is it gives you proof of future marketing. And someone made a statement on the post of if you don't have a laptop, start with your phone. If you do have a camera, start with your phone. That post, if you've seen it, you probably will remember. And someone made a comment that, why did you choose to document all of these things? And I was like, well, documenting it was for myself to be able to look back and see my growth, but also to help other persons who are probably in the same place that I used to be. And it has become proof of marketing. And I'll be honest with you guys that are listening right now. I have a new book coming out in February. And one of your favorite creators happens to be the person who wrote the foreword of the book. And I'm quite excited about it. The title is called Act Anyway. And you might have noticed that's the reason why I've been sharing a lot more content that is talking about where I started from and where I am now, and just encouraging people to start, because I have a book that I've been writing for like 2 years now. I finished it. You know, it will be published in like a week, and I'm trying to market the book eventually. But then, how do I market the book? I have to start showing proof that what I wrote about in the book, I've done it. I have experience of it. I've gotten results from it. And what better way to show than to bring back the things I've documented, the systems I've created, and all of those things. So documentation helps you to have proof for future marketing. Just take that. The second thing now is systems you can replicate. Documentation makes it easy for you to replicate systems that you've created. It also makes it very easy to refine your offer eventually, because what you document, in a way that you document it, you figure out what works, what didn't work, what you can improve on your service over time. You're able to do it faster, get better, and get more efficient. Very important. And then the last part here is that documentation helps you build foundation for scaling eventually. Like, I have every single thing that I've worked on over the last 7 years in my archives. And if I want to scale, I don't have to start overthinking. I could just go and pick one content that feels like was one of the most viral content I ever created, refine the message, and use it to do another kind of promotion. That is the benefit of documentation. And everything that I've been sharing with you tonight is like 7 years of experience distilled into 3 hours. So I hope it's not too much information. So I think at this point we can go into step 5. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. But with step 5, it's a lot more interesting, because step 5 has a lot of building systems, finding out how to serve more people without spending more time doing it, and then figuring out how to scale. And what that means is you need systems, but then not just systems, you need repeatable systems. And the reason for systems is because they help you free up your brain. You don't have to start reinventing the wheel every time. So you can see how documentation helps to do this. I've documented everything that I did with DMAT, or how I did it, and then it has turned into a process. And this process is now allowing me to do 3 main things, right? It makes it easy for me to onboard new people who want to do this. I already have all of the emails I sent out to brands and to people I wanted to work with, the ones that converted, the ones that didn't convert. I have all of the intake forms that I used when I started. I have contract templates. I have kickoff agenda meetings. I have all of those things well documented, and then it makes it easy for me to make it into a product or do it for other people without having to renew or redo it again. And then the next system that you need to create is content creation. Like, I can show you one piece of content that I've posted like 7 times, and all I did was repurpose it, make it sound different, put a different hook, put a different intro, but it's still the same message. I've written some as a note, some as tweets, some as substacks, some as carousels. I've done like 2 versions of videos about that. it's just a way of figuring out how to balance these things. And it's very important. And then you need to figure out how to build a template library. Like I just showed you my Canva. I have a library of templates that I can always use time and time again. I have email subjects, I have graphic designs, I have video scripts. All of that, those things well documented that if I want to repurpose in the future, I can basically, I've created just once and I can post it everywhere. So this is quite important. And I feel like the more people spend time doing this, the better it is for you to figure out that you can do something once and it can live for like 10 years. I have a product called How to Podcast ebook, and I created it in 2020, and that ebook still sells. It sold until I took it down in 2024 because I felt like it has served its purpose. And how did the ebook come about? I did a workshop, a webinar for 2 hours, and everything that I taught in that webinar, the ebook, the slides I created, I turned it into an ebook, and I started selling it to people who didn't join the session or who wanted to figure out how to start podcasting on their own. So you don't need to start creating 18 separate pieces. You can repurpose just one into multiples. And then the last thing you need is a content calendar. I just showed you my 31 days series. You need to break things down in a very sequential order that it makes it easy for you to know what happens next. Don't just post randomly. Have a calendar. For me, there was a calendar I was working with 2023. Mondays, I post educational posts. Wednesdays, I post personal stories. And Fridays, I talk about how people can work with me. When you have this system, content creation becomes easy for you. You're not scrambling every day. You're not following, you're basically following processes. And I would recommend that you have something like this. Let me show you that. So it's a lot more visual. Keep. So for most of the things that I document, I use Google Keep. And I'm going to show you this very important thing. So, all right, perfect. This looks good. All right, so let me just share my screen and then you get to see what I'm talking about. You don't have to do everything manually. You don't have to always be racking your head around how to generate content ideas, filling stock, and all of that. This is my Google Keep. And anytime I have an idea, this is where I come to and I just dump it in here, right? So you can see this. Anytime an idea comes, everything goes in here. So it makes it easy for me to document things and easily just come here and figure out. For example, whenever I talk about anything about faith, I have this note where I keep anything relating to like faith talks that I do or that I want to do. I feel like, okay, I'm inspired to talk about something like this. If I want to do like all those candid reflections that I do, this is where all of those come in. If I'm looking for content about family and all of that, this is where it all comes from. And interesting thing, if you remember the intro for DMAT, this was it. If you're a dad or mom and the algorithm brought this your way, let's talk about DMAT for 30 seconds. What if I told you that earning 50K plus in 6 months with the right side gig will buy you? This was recorded 2023. So you can imagine I had this in 2023 and I never published it until December last year. It was just wild. If I want to do rant on TikTok, this is where I come to. If anything about amplify and scale, this is where it all comes to. So you need to figure out a way to always document your stuff. If I want to write on Substack, this is where all my ideas come to. And I'm sharing this so that you figure that you don't need to, you need systems. Honestly, you need systems. And I'll just scroll through and you can see the number of entries that I've had in this place. There are a lot over the years. Like, they are a lot. And this should give you an idea that I can't run out of ideas. I can just come here and pick something one of those days and, you know, refine it and easily go through stuff. So the reason I'm sharing all of this is so that it's a lot visual for you, and you know that the more stuff you have, the easier it is for you to flow through things. I can keep going on and on and on. Like, I have a lot of entries. So I hope that gives some perspective to what I was sharing about documenting. And we'll continue from there. Now, we're getting to the almost the end of the entire session. And what I'll be sharing now would most likely speak to the last step. But then before the last step, how do you pick something that is a system and all of that and turn it into a product or a service? And there are a couple of options. Number one is you can flow with the group program. And by group program, I mean, if you have a group of people asking for something, you can, instead of working with one person at a time, you can work with 10, 20, 50 people at once. And basically what you do is you teach the same process. That is what I'm doing right now. This is a native group program that I can convert into. I can pick this entire video for this live session and turn it into a workshop that I'm, selling to people, but I'm not going to do that. Don't get me wrong. You can teach the same process, you can deliver the same value, but instead of one call per client per week, you can do it in a group call. Same time input, and that can 10x your revenue. The other side to this is digital products. You can take your entire process and turn it into a course, a template, a guide, a toolkit. Your clients can go through it on their own. And this kind of a thing, you create it once and you sell it forever. And then the last one can be hybrid, where you combine both. You have a course for digital products, and then you also offer one-on-one support or group coaching for people who want more help. This basically gives you leverage and allows you to change, to charge like premium prices for personalized access. All of this is up to you to figure out what that looks like. But then you need to be very, very honest with yourself. You need to stop doing everything manually if you want to scale. Package all these things that you have, all these things that you know, all the systems that you've applied, all the documentation you've done, package it into something scalable, and you pretty much have, leverage in the long run. So let me do this. If you are in the charts right now, just share with me, what do you do right now? What skill do you have that you think you can monetize and you want to go all out with? Anyone telling me something? Okay. Okay. Health and fitness, storyteller, brand marketing, virtual assistant. Okay, so I'll do a few examples, right? And I'm an academic writer, researcher. I'm really good at it. Oh, that's amazing, Michael. So let me just give you a very simple, like an example, right? So let's say you are a social media manager, right? And you've been working with 5 clients one-on-one. You manage their accounts, you create the content, you respond to comments, but you realize that every client has the same problem, right? And the problem is that they don't know how to create a content strategy. So you figure that part out, and then you create a course, and you called it the 30-day content strategy blueprint. And it's everything you've been teaching your clients, but now it's a self-paced course, and you probably sell it for, let's say, $197, or let's say, 80,000 naira. And now, instead of working with one client at a time for, let's say, $600 per month, you were able to sell that course to 50 people. If you do a calculation of that, that should be roughly $9,000 in revenue, and you only created the course once. That is the basis of productization. You pick something that is a skill that you've offered as a service or whatever, and you find a way to turn it into one product based off someone's problem or the problem you've seen, that most people face. That is the basics of productization. And there's a framework that also makes it easy, which I call the productization ladder. I think I have it here, and I'll share that. Yeah. And basically, what this means is what this basically means is you figure out a way to turn an active service into passive income. Because one of the key things I want you to know is that your expertise is an asset. And if you figure out how to package it in a way that detaches your income from the hours you have to work, every step of the ladder adds a new layer of leverage. For example, you start with one-on-one services. That is you trading time for money. And then let's say you turn it into a group program. You do you to many people, like what I'm doing right now. And then from everything we've done today, I realized that everybody has almost the same problem, and there might be an easier way to solve it. So I'm like, okay, let me create a template or a course, and then that is a digital product. And at the end, all of these assets work for you because you've then been able to create passive income streams, but you are still able to do your one-on-one if you still want to do that at a more higher rate. But this is basically the idea and the goal. And if you see it, it should make more sense figuring out this. Now, let's assume you now get to a point where you feel like, you're not good at selling. Okay, see, I'm not good at selling, but I can motivate people. Having an awesome conversation about health and wellness, creating meal plans and meals, fasting, weight loss before. So you already have expertise. If you're able to follow what I've just talked about, there can be some kind of leverage that makes it easy for you to flow through, the process. Selling is not really as complicated as you think it is. Selling is basically you figuring out how to recommend something to someone based off the results that you've gotten, the transformations that you've been able to create, or the results that you have as a person. Because of the results I've had as a person, it's easy for me to tell someone that if you're going through this, or if someone comes to me and says I'm experiencing this, I can beat my chest and say, I have this solution for you and it's going to work. So I never used to be someone who talks about, okay, come and buy. I don't even shout buy. I just mentioned that these are the problems that I used to face. This is how I was able to overcome it. And I think others can benefit from what I've learned. And I have this thing that might help you make it easier. Would you be open to exploring it? And if the person chooses to go ahead and buy it, I just made a sale without being salesy. So I think you can watch day 18 and day 12 to figure out everything I just talked about. How to sell without being salesy. Yeah, don't worry, we're getting to the end. Now, we've talked about the 5 steps of the productization ladder. Please don't skip any step. Go through it bit by bit. And then the last step now would be your scaling strategy, if that makes sense. So let's say you've been doing this for 8 months and you've been seeing some growth. I feel like the simplest way to start scaling, maybe within the first year, is after your first 5 clients, raise your prices maybe by 20%. After your first 10 clients, raise your prices by 30%. And let's say after your first 25 clients, raise your prices by maybe 50%. The reason for this is because when you're getting started, you are faster, you have proof, you have testimonials, and you are more valuable than you were 6 months ago. So you need to charge accordingly. The better you get, the faster you get, the more proof you have, the more testimonials. So, and I see many creators who have been charging the same price for like 2 years. Please stop doing that. Every 3 to 6 months, raise your prices. It shows that you are growing. It shows that you are improving. It shows that you are adding more value to the person who wants to work with you. Not that 6 months ago they inquired about you and you told them your ebook is 5,000 naira, and after a year it's still 5,000 naira. Haven't you learned more things to make that ebook a lot more robust? Can you add more stuff to it? So you need to think about all of these things. You you've helped a lot of people achieve certain kinds of results at their current rate, but then new clients pay new rates. Your old clients remain where they are, but new clients pay new rate. For example, every single person who has bought the Creator Cash Flow Kit, they are getting upgraded to the DMAT without paying anything, because they were there when I was still trying to refine and make everything smooth. Now that everything is smooth, any new person coming is paying the new price, while the people who have been there before, they get it at what they paid initially. And that's just how you're able to go from making the base pay you currently are at to increasing and getting higher without taking more, without doing too much work. And the other thing now is that it sort of adds leverage, because if people are able to get access to you and you're able to help more people, you have a group, let's say you have a group program and just one call, 20 people, you have a digital product, you created it once and you can sell it forever. You can then choose to add maybe affiliate income, where you promote products you believe in and you earn a commission. You can also even think of passive revenue, courses, memberships, sponsorships, all of that. But the key here is that because you've been able to do something, you've built experience, you've built leverage, you can get to a point where you start trading value for money, not time for money. Right now, I don't trade my time for money. If any brand wants to work with me, I've used my experience to grow my page and my influence and everything. The brand would pay accordingly, not that they'll be paying what someone probably paid like 3 years ago. That's different. Even a brand I worked with, I remember first time I worked with Kajabi, there was a particular price I gave them, which was like 6 months ago. The second time they came, it had increased. And the industry understands that people evolve, people learn things, they grow. So if you don't set that foundation, you can easily be exploited. And then I feel like the maybe the last thing I'll talk about before I open up the room would be to build a team. And that's why I said a 6 months long process. And if you're diligent, for me, I got to a point where I was able to hire a video editor to start working on my podcast. And then when I got too busy and I couldn't be recording podcasts anymore as I was supposed to, even though it's starting again this year, we took a break and, but I was able to hire a video editor, a virtual assistant, and someone to help me manage projects that is a bit too chaotic because, I became a CEO of a company and I have a lot of business things to run. So I was able to just delegate the things that are a little bit hard to work on. For example, it was quite easy for me to say, I'm going to hire somebody who's going to focus on lead generation so that it will be easy for doing outreaches to brands or to other businesses to do cold DMs, cold emailing, and all this kind of stuff. I was able to outsource things I didn't enjoy doing. I just wanted to focus on teaching, showing up, helping people, while there are people who are getting paid to run the invisible part, which is making the business thrive. So those are the 3 parts. First, in learning to scale, raise your prices. I was supposed to show you that, so it's a lot more visual. Yeah. So let me share that now. Raise your prices. Yeah, raise your prices, add leverage, and then build a team. If you really want to scale, this is important. Like, growth doesn't mean you have to burn out, because once you have systems in place, you can easily choose your path based on your goal and capacity. Very important. Now, the last part of the journey is that how do you build an audience, and why do you even need an audience? How do you build a community that are engaged? And I said this here that the future is a thriving community, not a massive following. My community is just about 110 people right now. Not my followers, not the 180K people. No, it is the 110 people that are in the close community. And these are the people who, anytime I'm launching a new product, they are always eager to say, Dim, anything you're bringing on next, please involve me, right? So, yeah, so it's quite necessary for you to figure this part out, because it's one of the things that makes it easy for you to not constantly burn yourself out. You don't need 100K followers to earn 100K a month, in a year. Like, from my business and content creation and everything, 2020, 2024, 2023, 2024, I was able to make over $100K from Instagram, brand deals, digital products. And it wasn't because I had lots of followers. It was because I had all those systems in place, and I had this thriving community who, if I put out a new product, they are the first people to know about it, even though sometimes I didn't even announce it on Instagram, right? And you need engaged people who trust you, a community that provides trust at scale, and this helps you, have recurring revenue, long-term relationships with people who become your greatest advocates. Like, there are people today that if I tell them I'm doing something new, they want to jump on it. Not because I did juju to them. It was just, creating this kind of personal experiences that makes them say, okay, I think this guy is someone we trust. Now, if you want to diversify your income to sort of have some level of stability, these are the 5 things that I do, and I'm being honest with you, right? I don't rely on one single income stream. These are the 5 things that I do. I work with founders, creators, and business owners one-on-one, which is my core service in coaching, mentoring, helping them have clarity, business, brand strategy, and all of that. Then I have everything that I do with digital products, teaching and co. And then I have got the paid community that nobody really knows about. It's just there. And those people know themselves. And they just sit in the shadows watching all the gymnastics I'm doing on Instagram because they know that they're the ones getting the juice, the real juice that I have to offer. And then I do affiliate income as well. And the last thing is brand partnerships. So that's how I was able to make everything I made. And that's how I've been able to have a level of predictable income. Now, let me be a lot more transparent when it comes to this, right? Now, with this particular thing I just shared, you need to understand this, that the predictability is built on one very important thing, and is that you need to have one main income. For me, it is the core services I offer, and that is consultation, either for large organizations. At the moment, I have a 1 year contract with a very, I mean, it's not a large organization, but I don't want to review too much, but it's a body that does a lot of impact in Africa, and they really help people do a lot of things, right? Um, just say like maybe like a very small version of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and they want to understand, they want to be able to reach more people, they want to be able to like capitalize on the influence of their experience. It's a company that's been running for 25 years, and from my work on Instagram and social media and everything, they reached out, and I joined them to handle all their communications, their strategy, and anything that relates to partnerships. And that is a 1 year contract. And that means that I have that main source of income, which helps me do that. But then I want to be able to have a very good land to stand on and not be, okay, what if I need to take a break for a few days or for a few weeks, and I won't be able to issue an invoice for this month that is complete. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Digital products will be great. I've got templates, guides, ebooks, things that can sell separately. And then that is good, but some people don't want to just buy one thing. They want to like be able to get ongoing support. So there's a community and membership. And then in my head, I can't keep paying Canva or Adobe or all these other guys for, just giving them money. I can make some money back and figure out how I can recommend products that sales from those affiliates is paying what I'm using to subscribe to these platforms. And that is what I do for affiliate income, so that every month Adobe is not taking £60 from me, and then the money is coming out of maybe something that I'm probably trying to use to save for school fees for my son or something like that. So that's just the way my head started working when I knew that, okay, I need to figure out how to use other kinds of income to supplement things that run on a daily basis. And then the last part now is partnerships. If I need huge cash injection, where let's say I want to upgrade my tech stack, or we have a family trip that I need to fund and I don't want to touch our savings, then I switch into looking for brands to partner with that I could charge maybe like $5,000 or 10 or something, and that sort of covers that part. But you can see at the start you don't need all five. Focus on two, and over time you can start ramping up when things start feeling a lot more easy and you build proper systems, and then you're able to you figure that, okay, you need more time to do more interesting things, and you can outsource the boring stuff now that you have more resources to spare. Yes, but don't start with all five. I started with just two at the beginning. The core service, which is my UX experience to help businesses stand out, and then brand partnerships. And then when I saw that, I don't just want to be talking about other people's products all the time. I want to have my own thing. I want to have people who trust that, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. So I started the community, and then digital products came up, and then I started doing affiliates to manage running all of these lots of tech stacks. Canva will get paid every year, Adobe, and so many other things that if you think about it, in a month, it probably will cost you a lot to just pay those things off. But then from affiliate income, it makes it easy to do that. So that's why I have those 5, and I built them over the space of 7 years. But then you don't have to start with all 5. Start with the smallest one, your core services. Make sure that it is something that is solid and it consistently gives you income. And then you can add something else to it, maybe digital products or sponsorships or affiliate. You can choose whichever one works for you. But I'm just trying to do due diligence and present all of this so that you have as many options as possible. Yeah. So I think we've, in a way, come to a place where we can start to round up. But I want to walk you through the very last thing. And don't worry, there's a document that sort of is quite detailed that breaks all of this down. So you don't have to be cracking your head around, okay, how do I figure it out? What do I do next? And all of that. Yeah. And then I think one thing I want us to do right now would be in the chat, tell me one thing about yourself that has nothing to do with your business. It could be a hobby, it could be a quirk, it could be something random. For example, I really love cooking, but then I'm terrible at video games. And I love cycling. It has nothing to do with my business. So just something that, lets people see you as a person, not just a business. So just go ahead and drop that in the chat. I would love to see that. While I'm preparing, you like to bake and talk. Nice. Don't turn it to business. So let it just be something you can, do at your spare time and gives you, you love speaking and you love acting. Wow, nice. I'm expecting more. Please drop them. Do you want to say something? Okay. Any more? You enjoy talking to strangers. Oh wow. You might like this. There's this podcast by one of my favorite artists. It's called Strangers on a Bench, and he goes around London just meeting strangers and talk. He sits with them on the bench to have conversations, just random stuff. Very, very inspiring, talks. You like to dance, bake, and cook. You're a foodie. Wow, it's good to know. You love reading. You enjoy watching Korean movies. I never used to like K-drama until I met my wife, and now she scattered my head. Yeah, Tom Rosenthal is an amazing person. I like trying new things or activities and reading. Nice. Uh, yeah. Um, I'm seeing more. Okay, let's go to YouTube. You love watching movies, but terrible at remembering a footballer. Ah, he. Okay. I love traveling and I watch rom-com movies to relax. That means you must cry a lot. I recall Bible characters verbatim. Wow. We should do a what do they call it? A challenge. You love singing. I love to see movies and give my own reactions to the series, to the scenes. Nice. Um, so okay, I love playing football. So there's a question here. I love doing house chores and just arranging the house. Timiloloa. Hey, okay. That's interesting. Okay. Uh, that's quite interesting. You like to know what's happening in the political world, not just in your own country, but worldwide. That's good. So I recently started listening to the news as well and reading breaking news or like just top stories. And I remember feeling, and one day I just felt like I was my dad because when I was growing up, he would always watch the news, and nobody could use the remote once it's 10 p.m. Just so strange. Yeah. All right. So there's one just quick question I want to answer before we go into the last set of things, and it's a question from uh, Delham Delhammer or something. I've been following you for a while, and now for a while now, I love what all you say each time I listen to you. It's so real to me. But I have one question. You're 22, and I feel like I am left behind. Okay. You made a decision to get one thing done, but you're really confused on what really to do, and it seems like time is passing by. What should I do, please? Okay. So you should understand one thing, that you are not left behind. And I've got lots of letters for you to read that maybe helps give perspective to this. So I'm going to put my email. My email is in my bio on Instagram. Just go there, grab the email, and just say you were on the live, you were going to ask this question, and we're going to set up something, and I'm going to answer your questions properly. I've been where you're at, and I can just tell you for a fact that it's not a good place to be in, but at the same time, it is leverage, because there you have nothing to lose and you have a lot more to gain, but it's knowing how to navigate, and we can think around figuring that part out together. There's also a question. Yes, okay. There's Michael says, I enjoy sitting in quiet places and observing the environment. Yeah, my kind of person. Like sometimes I just cycle and go to like all those very open field or higher grounds, and I just sit there, just looking around. Even though sometimes it is really cold in Scotland, but it's always fun to do that. You love medical TV shows or series? Legend in the making. It means you would also like maybe crime documentaries. Please don't like crime documentaries. It's a rabbit hole. I used to, and I had to stop. It was an addiction because they're just very gripping. All right. So the last thing to do before we start to call it a night. Before we start to call it a night, right? I'm going to walk you through some of the core of what I believe you should focus on, especially now that you're probably thinking of building a community and being able to connect with people properly. So let's walk properly through this. If you're on Zoom, I'm going to share with you so you see, and then we get to wrapping up. All right. Now, in today's day and age, authenticity is the fuel for your entire system. Like right now, being a professional is not the same as being robotic. The systems you build should amplify who you are, not hide it. And that means that you need to figure out what your unique story is. You need to understand that you need to share your journey, and the values you have, they are your greatest advantages. And a simple framework for sharing your story is this. I think someone asked this question. If you want to build trust, you need to consistently share across these 4 key areas. And this isn't oversharing. It's just you connecting on a more human level by letting people into your world. So first, share your why. Why did you start your journey or this journey or whatever it is that you're doing? Number two, share your journey. The real struggles, the lessons. I've already talked about this. Number three, share the process, your behind the scenes. And number four, share your values. Now to the next one. There is this interesting recipe that I feel helps with balanced communication. And number one is educational content should take about 50 to 60%, which is teach your expertise, give freely. Then about 20% that goes into 30 to 20% that goes into your personal stories. This is what helps you grow your audience. Sorry, your community. The educational helps you grow your audience, your numbers. The personal helps you grow your community. And then the last one, 20 to 10%, make that where you get to make sales or sell or invite people to come and buy what you're selling. But if you do all of this properly in this ratio, it's easy for you to get good results because you're not over bothering people to buy from you and you're not like constantly under pressure to make things work out. And then the last thing we'll sort of figure out now is all through tonight, we've pretty much laid the foundation, right? And I feel like the goal of this framework isn't just to learn, but to build. I feel like progress always comes from you taking action, not just having more information. And you need to choose one small tangible action to take this week and then lay your first brick as your new foundation. So what would I advise you to do? Try to document one repeatable process from your last project or anything you're working on right now. And then try, and I'm saying try, post one piece of personal content, basically sharing your why you're doing what you're doing or why you started what you started. This will really help. Like it would really help. It would give you it will just make things a bit easy for you. You can easily start, talk about why you started and then start simple. Maybe you're trying to have 5 clients. If you can start a conversation with them, send them an email, a DM or something. If anybody has asked about what you do before, reach out to them and just ask questions. Okay, I want to do this. Please help. What do you think? Create real connections with people. Don't just, pour sell all over the place, because that will really help you understand what to do next and how to do it properly. So that's about it for everything we have to do for today. But then there's one last thing to show you before we go, and I really want you to let's just work this out together. Just give me a moment. Okay. So in a case where you want to be able to maybe have more broader access to everything we've talked about for the DMAT series and everything, then I want to show you this and walk you through it. So it could be something that you can get some value out of. And honestly, there's no pressure around this. I'm going to send you an email just to show you more details about it. But then this is the DMAT framework, right? And remember all of the forms I filled not so long ago, just to get just to show you what I was talking about, the onboarding, right? I built DMAT to be very detailed and very interactive, that it really goes deep and is quite personalized for you in the way you understand how to do things, right? And this is just what it figured out, like discovery about myself, about what my goals are, what my monetization path looks like, what the potential, challenges I would have. And this is actually very accurate based on where I used to be. And then what my next step should be. And, just general, overview. Now, when I go to the dashboard, now this is if you go ahead and maybe purchase the DMAT framework, the full thing, and you get in here, pretty much to give you, you ask you about what your goals are. So I'll just put, my name, my country of residence, my experience level, what I currently earn in and what I want to be earning in. I'll just say dollars and all of this. Okay, I have Pinterest, I have Threads. And my main platform is Instagram, and then I have Access. Now I'm in here and you pretty much can see everything that you need. So you can do all you need to do here. When you click on Coach Insights, I haven't done any of the assessments, so it doesn't have anything for me yet, right? So this is the entire framework, and step 4, 5, and 6 is coming soon, like I mentioned. But then step 1, 2, and 3 is available, and you can start to use this to figure things out for yourself. For example, if I take the revenue discovery assessment, this is how I know what skills I currently have that I can monetize, and I can do that here. And once I've done that, it gives me what my recommendation is, and then you can go to the next thing. So you have to follow everything diligently. Let's say I want to audit my skills, right? Instead of doing manual and filling the form with your hand, I've probably tried to simplify it for you here. Your skill inventory, what are the skills that you probably have in this life? You include them here. What hidden skills do you have? You input them here. Your profitability scorecard, you input that here as well. And let's say we go to your starting point. Where do you want to start with? What skill do you want to start with based on everything I've taught you tonight? And then this analyzes your skills and then gives you something to work with. Now, I'm going to come back here and do something, which is I would log out of this so I can show you. Okay, by the way, this is a full framework. It's got all of these. Step 1, step 2, step 3. These are the things you figure out in step 4, step 5, step 6. And then you've got all of these additional resources that are available for free once you get access to this. Now, if I go back to the original thing, there's already a place where I'll show you what I've figured on this before, and then my dashboard. Now I've already started building on this, and then if you go to Coach Insights, you can pretty much see everything that has been recommended based off my details that I've put in. And then I can start building my offer. So what offer do I want to build? I include that here, and you go step by step until you now know, okay, this is what you need to charge. Or for example, if I want to do the market fit formula, it's also here. So I've tried to make it as simple as possible to break down. And this should give you a general overview. For example, let's say I need to understand what to charge a particular client. It will just be to come to the smart pricing calculator, choose how long you've been doing what you're doing, choose your region, and then what's the currency of what you're charging for. How long will it take you to deliver the project? Let's say it would take me 6 hours, and how much do I want to charge per hour? Let's say I want to charge $100 per hour, right? Now, based on market research, if I do market research for what I do is, how much does the typical person charge? Let's say they charge 400, because let's say I'm still a beginner. And what's the value that the clients will get from this? If I do consultation and if they figure it out and they get it right, and the client is making like $10,000 from what I'm pitching to them. What do I want my ROI to be? I have that, and then I get pricing insights. It analyzes and gives me a result. So all of this is already put together and could be well accessed depending on how you want to go over it. And the reason why I'm sharing this is so that you know that I've put a lot of thought into the framework, and you'll be getting an email just to walk you through it again and probably talk more about what the potential benefits might be for you. And if that sounds like your thing, then I hope it helps for those I created it for. Again, thank you all so much for joining tonight. It's been long. It's been a process. And if any one of you wants to send me a message, my email is in my bio. Just grab that and send the message. But yeah, it's been great talking to you. It's been 3 hours, 11 minutes. And I really hope that all of this has been helpful. If it has, please leave comments later in the actual video when it goes up or when it's up. And if you have anything else, you'll get the guide that I used to create this session, so you can easily go through it and have something to revisit. And if you want, you can always come back to the video for more details. Again, thank you for tonight. I really appreciate you guys for sitting. Yeah, it's actually wild, 3 hours. I know it's 11 p.m. in Nigeria right now, so I respect you guys. Thank you so much, and have an amazing night.